Are we? How are we starting this?
We've already started.
Okay,
This is
you're already recorded.
this is not getting edited.
That's fine.
How's your audio?
It's fine. It's good.
Whoa, that does get loud.
It's very loud.
Is that a good volume for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, no. Now it's a little quiet for me. That's better.
That's
it's like
better.
more equal with yours.
Okay, so everything sounds good there.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's good for me too.
Okay.
Are you comfortable?
Yes.
Stop looking at the camera.
Maybe. I just want to make sure that I don't look like a frumpy person.
You look beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
I like what you're wearing.
Yeah, it's nice of you.
For people who don't know, this is my wife. I'll put that in the intro though, so they would know, unless they just skip forward.
If they
I'm
watched the first episode, they would know.
They would, yeah. I'm not just randomly flirting with a female guest.
This is not how you start all your episodes.
Well, I usually do a lot of small talk like this, but then I cut it out.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to cut this out.
Oh, God.
This is what people want to hear. Give the public what they want. Husbands and wives talking about, how we got to do laundry after this.
Mm-hmm.
But
might have to pause the episode and do another load of laundry.
That's true. I think this is episode-wise. This should be 64. So you were on episode. Yeah, you were on episode 1, and now fast forward to 64. Maybe you'll do like episode 100.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll hit triple digits, which will actually be pretty quick. I would imagine March, probably somewhere around there. That's exciting.
Keep it rolling, babe. Okay.
We can just keep doing small talk until you stop feeling awkward.
Uncomfortable. I prepared some questions
this
for
is
you.
Like this is just like a normal husband-wife conversation with microphones and headphones and cameras.
Mm-hmm. Totally normal.
It's pretty normal.
It's just like an everyday life situation for me. I don't know about you, but
it is kind of everyday life for you because you work remotely. You are always talking into a microphone on a camera 100% of the time. So this should be...
But not with uncomfortable, strict eye contact
for an hour. You can look wherever you want. Why is it uncomfortable to make eye contact with your husband? It's not like when we go to dinner, we look off into the distance as we talk. Okay,
let's get into it because I have some juicy questions for you.
It's like in Yellowstone where every conversation is just super dramatic, just staring off into the distance, talking about serious things.
Anyways.
So what did you...
You ready?
Yeah. So
you ready for this?
There was a lot of ideas for this episode. We went back and forth. What we ended up doing is Marissa, my wife, is going to interview me. So I'm going to hand the hosting duty over to her. She's going to ask me some questions.
Yeah.
You ready? I don't know what these questions are, by the way. So she did not. I told her not to tell me. So I'm not prepared.
You're prepared.
I'm not prepared.
Okay. So first few questions are going to be a little bit of softball just so that we can warm up and
I'm warm.
Start to get into
I'm just born ready for
the juicy stuff. Okay. So the first one, which actually this is a question I feel like I have never asked you that I'm genuinely curious about, but what part of your job and your formal job and what you do excites you the most?
By formal job, you mean?
I mean, like being in clinic could be that, or could be teaching. It could be a bunch of different areas of what it could be the podcast. I mean, I don't know. What excites you the most?
I think big picture, what excites me the most is solving complex problems. I just think that's interesting.
But what does that mean? Like that's very...
it could be anything. So let's say from a teaching perspective, I teach a class at the college. When I started teaching it, there were issues with it that the college had that they wanted fixed. And apparently other people had tried to fix them and struggled. And so I thought, okay, well, that would be fun. And even if I don't succeed, I'm going to learn a lot along the way. So it was a complex problem that I wouldn't say I've solved it, but things are getting better. I'm moving in the right direction with it. And that's continues to be fun. I would imagine at some point, if I ever reach a pinnacle with that class and there's no more problems to solve, it'll be less fun.
But
Although,
I feel like problems are never completely solved, right? That
well,
like,
like the little mundane teaching, like the
yeah, that's
scheduling
true.
problems, that stuff doesn't interest me. I think teaching probably will never get boring for me because every group, every class has a different dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Different students have different issues. The class that I teach we teach out of a gym. And this last semester, I had 2 students in the same group who had joint replacements for different reasons. So I've never had that before.
Mm-hmm.
A couple semesters ago, I had a blind student.
Mm.
So how do you
That's tricky.
work with a
Yeah.
blind student in a group strength and conditioning
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
class? That was challenging. I've had students with a variety of health issues. So that I think there are always complex problems to solve with teaching, especially teaching and coaching in a gym. That makes it fun. I think from a work perspective, every time someone comes in, it's a complex problem. Even if it's something super simple, they have a disc problem that they've already had it diagnosed with an MRI. So we know everything. And the process is very simple. Well, the person is still complex.
Mm-hmm.
They still have to go out into the world. They have relationships. They have sleep problems. They have kids. There's so many other things going on. So it's complex because it's a moving target. Dynamically, we have to change the plan constantly. So I love that. I love solving the complex problems with this podcast. As you just witnessed,
5 minutes ago.
the setup for this sometimes takes a long time, and we're introducing new equipment today, so everything's kind of different. I'm always playing with different camera angles.
Mm-hmm.
There are always technical difficulties in editing, and the whole process is hard.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's just the complex problem of being comfortable opening up and having a conversation while I have 2 cameras on me
Mm-hmm.
and lights, and I know that I'm not going to edit this.
Mm-hmm.
So everything I say is going to be out there forever.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's complex because you want to prepare for a podcast, but you can't over prepare because then you become robotic. And it's the same thing with patient care. I want to go into it as prepared as possible, but I'm conscious not to over prepare
Mm-hmm.
because then I'm not listening and thinking, and I can't solve complex problems in the moment without thinking. So I think in general, if you look at everything I do, I really like solving complex problems.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's also the fact that I own a business. So there are marketing, super complex, sales, rough, just the day to day of business stuff is challenging. And on top of that, you have to wear multiple hats. So I have to go be a teacher and I have to take all of that and put it aside and focus on the students. And then I have to go focus on one patient. And then I have to focus on a podcast, but then I've got to do calls. So I think what I do, what I like to do just forces me to solve complex problems all day, which is exhausting, but entertaining.
Rewarding.
I think I would get bored if it was just run of the mill. And I think that's the nice thing about owning my own business and doing all these different projects that all kind of blend together is that I never run out of problems to solve. So I feel like I can never get my head above water, but the fact that I'm still moving is just fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I think without the challenge, like some days I wish I could just clock in and do a 9 to 5. It just feels like that. But then ultimately,
You'd be bored.
oh yeah, I would, after a week or 2, I don't know. I'd be looking for something challenging to do. So I think that's probably what I like the most. Right now, I do really enjoy the podcast. I get super excited about recording these. I like geeking out on the gear. I think everything with this is really fun because it's new and it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Being on camera, I don't like the sound of my voice. I don't like the way I look on camera. I don't like opening up. But forcing myself to do that and edit, the editing process for this podcast has changed the way I speak. I don't say as much. I don't say like as much. I've changed. And I notice when I speak in public, it's almost becoming,
Programmed in.
it's becoming autopilot
Mhm.
where I will pause more. I will think about things. The whole process has been so uncomfortable, but because of that, if you just keep doing it, I
Mhm.
mean, this will be 64 times I've edited
Mhm.
my, and
Mhm.
what happens by the time we hit 1,000 if I'm still editing these things? I'm going to be exponentially better at this than I was. So that's complex. I'm really enjoying marketing right now. Well, I just said, but marketing is a unique challenge, learning everything
Mhm.
about it because I
Mhm.
know nothing. And so marketing, trying to connect with people is really hard authentically.
Mhm.
So that's another complex challenge. I just think everything I do, all the stuff that's not really complex is the stuff that I don't really enjoy doing.
Mhm.
So I always have a mundane checklist of things I have to get through, and I dread that.
That's good. I mean, I feel like that fits your personality. So
I'm not sure if that's a compliment or
no, it was. Um, okay, so this is another fun question. What is something about being a chiropractor that most people don't realize?
well, that's a fascinating question because there's a lot of depth to that. Because I
Mm-hmm.
think you're going to get a very different answer depending on who you talk to.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I decided to be a chiropractor because I had a vision of what the profession was in my mind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And to me, it has been like the going to Oz and seeing behind the wizard behind the curtain, where I'm like, oh,
It's changed a lot over the
this
course
is
of
not what I
the
thought it was going to,
last decade.
not what I thought it was going to be. So that's a hard one to answer.
But was there a moment too that changed? Like, was there a light bulb moment too?
Yes and no. So I think the narrative that I had been told and no one had ever, and I've been going to chiropractors since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen chiropractors all over the country, depending on where I was living. I'm not sure what they all thought about chiropractic, but no one ever, even when I decided to become a chiropractor, no one ever said, there are multiple sides to this. This is
Mm-hmm.
where I sit, but you should understand that the profession, there are different thoughts on this.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't blame them for that. I think that's just a missed opportunity. So
Sure.
when
Yeah.
people ask me about it, I go out of my way to say, I think of this way, but a lot of people think this way. And you should understand that there are two sides to this. And it doesn't really matter where you fall. I'm not trying to influence you, but you should know if you're going to make this choice
Yeah. The
that,
nuance.
that we're not uniform. So
Mm-hmm.
I think what a lot of people don't realize about chiropractic is that the traditional thought and some of the wording that still gets used, which is what drove me to it, is that the spine comes out of alignment, and then
Mm-hmm.
chiropractors can feel that,
Mm-hmm.
and then we correct the alignment. And when you do that, it changes the nervous system, which can affect everything.
Mm-hmm.
That is a nice idea.
Mm-hmm.
The analogy that I have used, which I feel like is somewhat insulting, but it is accurate. It's the Bigfoot analogy. You've got a lot of people out there saying Sasquatch is real, and all we have are grainy photos and individual accounts, like individual sightings. At some point, they've got to come up with more than that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
if you were trying to convince me that Bigfoot was real,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, okay, well, what proof do you have? And you said, well, I don't have any proof. And I'd say, okay, what evidence do you have? And you say, I got a grainy photo and some eyewitness accounts.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, well, that's not a lot of evidence. And you say, well, I've got 130 years worth of individual accounts and grainy photos. And I would say, okay, so for over 130 years, you haven't been able. And then you would say, well, you can't disprove that Bigfoot exists. Therefore, I win. And I would say, that's crazy because you're making the claim.
Mm-hmm.
The burden of proof is on you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so for over 130 years, a large portion of the profession has had the same narrative. And we have the equivalent of grainy photos and eyewitness accounts. That's it. It doesn't invalidate the profession. It just means that we need to update the way we describe things. And we need to let go of certain things. And it would change the way a lot of chiropractors practice. It would change the way a lot of insurance companies reimburse. And I think from my perspective, I think a large portion of the profession, at least what drove me to the profession, is not accurate and is not accurately portrayed. And people make healthcare decisions based on oversimplified, old
explanations.
that are based on philosophy, which what a lot of people may not realize is that a lot of these original things, like the spine comes out of alignment, all these other things, those were created in the late 1800s and early 1900s. At the time when chiropractors were being thrown in jail for practicing medicine without a license, and they were considering making it a religion.
Well, also 130 years is not very long, like in the grand scheme of the world and humanity.
It's not, but in the 130 years, look at what has been developed.
Science.
So, as an example, Dio's osteopaths, the founder of Doctor of Osteopathy, I think is the term. I believe he knew the founder of chiropractic because it happened around the same time. They shared a lot of the same ideas. At some point, osteopaths said, we need to integrate and update. So we'll integrate with mainstream medicine. We'll keep our own unique identity, but we will move on a path. We will move on a path. So today, DOs and MDs are interchangeable. But they have their own unique schools. They just meet the same minimum standards and they can do the same things. I didn't
realize that. Okay.
But DOs get extra training in things like joint manipulation, and they look at things differently.
Sure.
But they still are medical physicians.
There's a minimum. There's like a standard.
They started out as a profession out on the fringes, and they moved more towards to integrate. I think it's the same thing with podiatry. I think they have a pretty wacky origin story, but now they are physicians. They do surgery, and so there are a lot of professions like that started on the fringes. And as science and we start to learn more, they have come towards the middle a little bit more. Chiropractic has resisted aggressively. And I think at this point, it's to our detriment. Now, the interesting thing is that we just had the first chiropractic college open up within a major university system at Pitt. I think this happened last year or the year before.
Like side by side with a DO.
It's almost I don't know what school of sciences it's in. Right now, chiropractic schools are not
separate.
Yeah, they're separate entities, and you'll see a lot of them have transitioned to health sciences universities. So they will. It's like something that used to be a chiropractic college, but has added different things. So like the health sciences university I went to started off as Los Angeles College of Chiropractic back in the day. It's actually pretty old. I think it started in like 1911. But now it's a health sciences university, and it has acupuncture. It has PAs. They added physical therapy. I think they have occupational therapy now, and they have an undergraduate program. So there's even more to it than that. But then you still have some traditional chiropractic schools that are just chiropractic. So Palmer is a good example. But none of these schools, even up until recently, they've all been their own separate entities. And now we have one, because as a profession, we've resisted it. Now we have one opened up at Pitt, which I think is like, I don't know if it's within their medical school or whatever greater umbrella of the sciences. So it's under that influence. So I think that's a step in the right direction. So what I think, getting back to your question, what a lot of people don't realize about chiropractic from my perspective is that I think a lot of the old narratives about being out of alignment and maintenance adjustments and the power of manual therapy, I think it's blown out of proportion. I think it's putting it up on a pedestal. It doesn't mean that what chiropractors do with our hands is unimportant and doesn't have some value. It's just, it's not as valuable as what it's made out to be.
Well, there's so many other options. Like you've taught me that. I didn't know that, before you explained it to me, but there's so many other options for addressing pain. And there's so many like inputs and outputs from that, right? And those are probably the wrong words, but like there's so many things that create pain that I never would have connected unless you would have explained that to me, right? Maybe you could talk a little bit about that. Like we talk a lot about how stress can impact someone's pain, right? Like I have that problem, I think, and stuff. So it's just it's not as simple and straightforward maybe as what like even I was thinking prior to you sharing more about kind of like some of the other inputs that can affect your pain, right?
Pain is super complex. And I think it's interesting because, so from a chiropractic perspective, when X-ray technology was invented, as a profession, we jumped on it and we used it in what would have been an appropriate way at that point. Well, since then, guidelines have changed. And in many cases, a lot of the traditional forms of chiropractic that have evolved around imaging, around X-rays, use it inappropriately in a standard that does not fit within what we would accept. Like they X-ray everybody. So if we
and there's like to connect the dot there though, there's other ways to detect.
Well, it's not a good way to check. So for example, if we went out and we just found 1,000 people who don't have low back pain and haven't had low back pain for a year, and we X-rayed and MRI'd all of them, we're going to find all kinds of stuff. Stuff that you look at it, you're like, how do
but they might not be feeling
and
bad.
and they have no pain.
Yeah.
The same thing is when someone comes in and they're in excruciating pain, we could image them and find nothing. The imaging can be completely normal. So if you have an image finding, could it be a contributor to the pain? Absolutely. Is it always? So if someone goes in and they don't have any low back pain and they go do a heavy deadlift and they hear a pop, and then they go get imaging that day and they go and they say, yeah, you ruptured a disc. How do we know that that person didn't walk in with a ruptured disc that just was asymptomatic? We don't know. You wouldn't know. So the problem is that if you just think about imaging, and unless there's you're going to miss things, and you're going to focus on one thing, and you're not going to see all of the other contributing factors. Now, there are extreme examples. If you're walking along and you get hit by a car, you know what I mean? And then you go in and you're like, yeah, your femur is fractured. That's probably, you know what I mean?
It wasn't a prior injury.
Yeah, it's a good bet that you weren't walking out. So there are extreme examples for sure.
Yeah.
But those are not common, and usually they're related to trauma, or there are other signs and symptoms of something maybe pathological, like a tumor or something like that. So there are appropriate ways to use imaging. And the problem is that if you go to imaging too quickly and you hyper-focus on whatever, and I diagnose you with, well, you have arthritis and you have degenerative discs. Well, I've just noceboed you. Like I've made it worse because now
meaning what? But like to the normal person, what is nocebo? Like I don't think
like a placebo. I think everyone's familiar with placebo. So it's like you would go in and like a doctor gives you a fake pill, but you think it's the pill, and you get they do it in research.
Yeah.
So if you expect a good outcome and you truly believe it, a lot of times you get that good outcome. You can do the opposite, where you go in and you expect something bad, and you carry that around with you and you keep manifesting that. So if I said, you can imagine if you go and get imaging of your low back, they get an X-ray, and someone says, "Got bad news for you. You have degenerative disc disease. You've got bone spurs.
I'm gonna have like anxiety.
You're bone on bone. Your joints look like a 90-year-old. Your reaction is going to be different, and that's going to dictate your pain. Now, if I came in and I said, look, and say I'm like that doctor is showing you it, pointing.
But the average human also who's not a doctor, I don't know when I look at an X-ray what's going on.
But look at the difference. What if I just came in and I said, we can look at the images, but like I looked at them.
Yeah.
You have normal joint space narrowing for your age. It's probably everybody has it. You've got some signs of, I don't know, just normal wear and tear. It's totally normal. I just described the same thing, but I did it in a different way. Now I might, in my mind, might be thinking, man, this woman's back looks like a 90-year-old. I could think those, but why would I say that? Because if it's not going to determine how I'm going to treat, like if it's not, I might treat it the same way. So why would I point those things out and say those nasty things? Because I don't even know if those are contributing to your pain. I don't know, because if someone has no pain and I don't let them sleep for 3 days, the likelihood that they have physical pain is huge.
Right.
The same thing when you are under stress. If your diet's not great, if you're doing things that exceed your capacity,
Yeah.
so you're not used to walking a ton and then you go to Disney World for 3 days, you're going to have foot pain and ankle pain. Now, if we take imaging and we're like, oh, look at this image finding, this is probably why. No, it was because that they didn't do any activity, and then for 3 days they took 30,000 steps quickly. So there are so many different things that contribute to pain. And so looking at imaging, saying that something's out of alignment, suggesting that you can go in with your hands and just fix something like pop, 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 that's going to have some type of profound effect. Not only is it, in my mind, silly, but we have no evidence to support it. Nothing. I can't say we have no evidence. There's evidence, but it's not strong. And there are a lot of people who might be listening to this who say, well, I got those results. A lot of people think they saw Bigfoot. You know what I mean? Like, there's one-off individual. That's great. If you go to a chiropractor and you get adjusted every week and you love it and you don't want to change, don't change. Who am I to tell you to change? I'm more talking to the people who aren't getting results.
Sure.
So if you're the 1 in a million who's seen the Loch Ness Monster, awesome. I'm really happy for you. I wish I was there with you. But
but really, you do wish you were there.
I do. My job would be so easy if I could.
No, I'm saying to see the Loch Ness
I know, but I'm just saying to keep this analogy, my job would be so easy if I could just legitimately book tours and take people and show them the Loch Ness Monster and then dock the boat and then show them Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And in relation to what I do, if I could just go in and crack people's backs and their knees
and it was
everything,
that easy.
And they would just, not only would they get out of pain, but would their digestion improve and there's like all these things. It's like,
why would you need modern medicine though?
Yeah. And so the narrative is that medical doctors know that this happens. They just reject it. And that's the narrative that I believed going into chiropractic school, that they just didn't get it. And the truth is, no, they get it. They just don't value it. And even with DOs who can manipulate, it's generally not a huge part of what they do.
It's a tool in their toolbox.
Yes, it's a tool in their toolbox.
Yeah.
And they do it quite well. And that's another narrative that chiropractors have, that something about the way we use our hands is uniquely special. And that is, I don't know, I've seen an osteopath manipulate. It's pretty good. I've seen PTs do, use their hands. It's good. I've seen athletic trainers crush it with their hands. Not literally crush it, but you know what I'm saying? It's like they do quite well. So this narrative also that chiropractors have this magic touch. Anyone can have a magic touch if you practice. So it just depends on how much you put into it. It doesn't have anything. There's nothing inherently special about my degree that says that someone took a magic wand at some point and anointed me and made me better than another healthcare provider with my hands.
Talk a little bit about like the alternatives, right? So somebody comes in with back pain. Let's be specific, right? Somebody comes in with low back pain or shoulder pain. I don't know. You pick one. What are their options apart from you cracking their back? Like, and you don't have to list everything, but like, what do you do if you don't crack their back? Like, can you explain that a little bit? Because I think a lot of people think, okay, I'm going to go to the chiropractor, I'm going to get my back cracked, and I'm going to go home. Like, it's just that, like, they come in maybe with that expectation. But I don't think a lot of people realize there's other things you can help them with.
That's a really thoughtful question, because I think I would imagine that people wonder that, and maybe it's hard for me sometimes to think about what other people will wonder.
Well, you're so close to it.
No, yeah,
I think.
So when someone comes in, I ask them to tell me everything about their pain and whatever. Once they're done talking, and I may probe them a little bit here and there, for the most part, we're done talking about pain.
Mm-hmm.
And then I shift, and there's 4 areas of information that I really need. And the first one is, what can't you do?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Why are you sitting here right now? There's something, or there are things that you can't do because of your pain,
Mm-hmm.
or that you're just grinding through, you're powering through, and you don't like it. You've had enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's either the fun stuff or the important stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
Mm-hmm.
And what is important about it to you?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you got pain. Everybody's got pain. That doesn't make you unique. I know it's unique to you, but I don't say this to people, but I want to know, like, what are we going to work? Like, what does success look like? Tell me about what we want to accomplish. And then I get them talking about that. And I want to know what about those things is valuable to them. It might be work. It might be relationships with friends. So it's, maybe a group of women, they get together and they run 5Ks every year, and they've been doing it for 15 years. And now someone feels like she can't participate. She's got to sit on the sidelines, and just she's not going to enjoy that with and so once a year they train for it, and they get together because they live on, and this is a real scenario actually. So I want to know about those things, and then I want to know what the person thinks is wrong, what's in their head, because they may have heard something from someone else. They may have had imaging somewhere and they're scared about something. They may have Googled it. They may be using ChatGPT. Whatever. So where are you? Like, what do you think is going on? Because I have to try and see this from your perspective. So that's really what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
I am trying my best to have true empathy. I want to know, how is this affecting you? And what do you think is going on, so that we can communicate better if I see it from your perspective. And people are crazy intuitive. And I think women especially don't, like, I don't know, it sounds silly, but usually when I hear something like that, I'm in my mind, I go, yes, because I'm about to get some gold. She's about to tell me the answer.
Yeah. Well, I think
or
some of
a
it,
big part of the answer.
some of this is them understanding their own motivation.
Yeah.
Because they probably didn't think about that. They're just feeling the repercussion of the pain, but they're not necessarily consciously coming to you being like, this is why, right? Until you probe that a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a probing process where we're going to keep going to the same thing. So now I understand how it's affecting your life, the fun stuff and the important stuff. I'm starting to understand what you think is going on.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of times it's so much deeper, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like an emotional attachment or something like that, not just a physical one.
This is true. It's so unique. And so I can't go into it thinking I know the answer. Like, oh, this is just another disc problem, or it's probably a meniscus or whatever. So I've got 2 very important pieces of information, and I can start to see it from your perspective now. And then I want to know, part 3 is, what does success look like to you?
Yeah.
In 2 months from now, if we could hit an absolute home run, or a year from now, what does life look like for you? Like, what would be valuable to you? Tell me tell me the answer to this problem. I'm just having people like, okay, what are your timelines? How quickly do you need to be able to do this? Do you want to be able to do this? And then the last question I want to know is, well, I want to know expectations. How are you hoping that I can help you? What are you coming to me for? Because if someone's gone through all of this stuff and they're complex, and then they're like, I'm hoping I could come in once a week and you could crack my back and then this will resolve it. Well, I need to know that.
Sure.
Because we gotta make sure that we're on the same page.
Sure.
And then I want to know, if you tell me how you're hoping that I can help you. And then what have you tried in the past? Maybe we've already gone over this, but I want to know. And then, okay, so you've tried some things. What did you love about those things? And what did you hate about them? Because obviously they didn't work, but you had to like something. Because if you tell me you like something, I'm probably going to do that. And if you tell me you didn't like something, I'm probably not going to do that. So again, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm trying to have the person point me in the direction that they want to go.
Well, it's a lot harder. I'm reading the Atomic Habits book right now, which is interesting and fascinating, because if you don't like to do something, and I'm probably butchering this, but if you don't like to do something, it's going to be a lot harder for you to do it, right? You're going to have to overcome way more hurdles in order to make it a habit is the whole premise of kind of,
Yeah.
one of the sentiments in the story. But it's one of those things where if it's something you actually enjoy, or you can tweak it so you enjoy it, then you're more likely to do it versus something that you absolutely despise. You're not going to do it. And you might do it for like 3 days or a week, but
Yeah.
then it's immediately going to stop. Right. So, you give somebody an exercise that they hate or something like that to do. They do it for a week or something, but it's not going to be a long-term solution because they're not going to be able to keep the habit of doing it. And I think
Yeah.
that's it's such an important element of you getting to that deeper questioning when you're talking to a patient, because if you just gave everyone the same exercise for low back pain, or if you were to not ask those questions and just assign something to somebody or tell them to do something that you didn't even know, maybe they had tried it before and they don't like it, right? Or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
then they're not going to be successful. And that's the most important part, right? Is for them to be successful and for you guys to be able to work together and find that success. So,
Yeah. So if we circle back to your question though, because I answered it in a very
circle
round.
back.
Yeah, I know.
We're going to circle back to the question.
So I'm using part of my marketing education is to learn corporate lingo. And you might think this is funny, but I think the listeners wouldn't know. So I have mentorship essentially. I'm not trying to learn to market on my own, just Googling things. I pay people to teach me how to do things. And so the, they use a lot of language that I don't use. And they actually gave me a cheat sheet with corporate slang and lingo that pertain to marketing because they are going to use it a lot and they don't want me to ask, what are you talking about? So I have to look at the list.
So he's finally learning my language.
So yes. So circling back to your question, ask me that question again about like what people, you said something about if I'm not going to crack a back, what do I do? How did you phrase it?
Oh, well, it's not on my list because
Okay.
it just came organically. But
Okay.
It's like, what are the other tools that you can use other than cracking a back?
Okay. So now that you asked that question and I walked you through the process, whatever you just told me.
Mm-hmm.
So
But like, give me some examples, right? Like,
so if you were like, I'm going to Disney World. I'm 70. I'm worried
with your grandkids or something.
With the grandkids. I'm worried that this is the first and the last time I'm going to get to do this with my grandkids.
Yeah.
I want to be in pictures. I want to enjoy it. I realize that I'm going to have to take 20 to 30,000 steps a day in the heat for 3 to 4 days straight. And I don't want to be in agonizing pain. I don't want to miss anything. Right now, I take maybe 4,000 steps a day. Well, guess what your program's going to include? A lot of walking. You know what I mean? So you just told me, and we're going to work on things to,
and maybe like strength.
We're going to look at your ankles. So maybe your ankles lack a lot of ankle mobility. Maybe you just don't have a lot of dorsiflexion, and you don't have to know what that means, but you lack range of motion. So what are we going to do? We're probably going to include some stretching. Once the stretching feels good, we'll do some more challenging joint mobility work. There's going to be strength training involved. There's going to be conditioning work. If there's anything along the way, we might use adjustments or manual therapy or some scraping or whatever, taping or whatever it takes. So I will literally do whatever I can do, whatever tools that I have within my toolbox, but I am not thinking about the tools. I am only thinking about the outcome. And that is a big difference, to go back to a previous question about chiropractic and what a lot of people don't realize. If you have low back pain and you go into a shoe store that does custom fitting shoes, guess what they're going to tell you is the solution. If you decide on that day not to go to a shoe store and you go to a mattress store, guess what the solution is?
True.
It's going to be whatever they sell. Chiropractic offices, and I'm just picking on chiropractors because I am a chiropractor, but you could apply this to anyone. If they have a primary thing that they sell and they focus on,
well, it's a commodity.
Yeah, you are going to, guess what? Everyone's going to get adjusted. And I have worked at places, and I'm not trying to, I understand it from an owner's perspective. That's how you get reimbursed. You get paid for cracking backs. But I don't want to say been reprimanded, but I have had discussions with owners of chiropractic practices saying that I should adjust more. If it's not going to hurt someone, we can, and they're looking at it from a business perspective. I get it. So you go to a chiropractor, a traditional chiropractor, and you have any kind of problem, you're going to get adjusted, and your ankle's going to get adjusted, your knee, they might adjust your back. They're going to do that anyway. The shoe store is going to sell you shoes anyway. So if you go somewhere and you already know the treatment that you're going to get, then you as the person, as the patient, you have to actually have already decided that's what you need. And maybe I don't know, maybe that's what you like, but I don't assume you need anything. And I have no idea what the treatment is going to look like. Are we moving towards your goals in a meaningful way that is sustainable for you, that meets your timelines? If the answer is yes, I don't care if the treatment involves me giving you a hug. It doesn't, because it doesn't really matter. We could sit and just talk about your stress. I can't give you advice because I'm not a mental health provider, but I can listen. And I've had that before. I've had sessions that have primarily been someone venting. And then they feel better. And then we move on to do something more challenging, because venting isn't going to get you to be able to do 20,000 steps a day, but it might be where you need to start. So if I'm not going to crack a back, I'm not going to rub down some muscles, what am I going to do? I'm going to do whatever it takes to make meaningful progress in the direction that you're paying me to for that end result. So I don't know, it's just not determined. I don't know what the session's going to look like.
What happens? That's a specific session. I think that's interesting, because it means you actually have to take a lot of time and energy to dedicate to every single case and every single person that you're working with. And I think it just as a follow-up question, what happens because I know this, well, I think, I don't know, but I think, just based on some of my own personal experience, what happens if it takes longer than what someone thinks it should to get relief, right? So maybe they've been coming to see you for 3 weeks, and they thought after week 1 they would feel great, back to 100%, right? They had lofty goals. They did everything you told them to do. They're, in your terms, crushing it. And it's week 3, which in the grand scheme of things isn't that big, but like it is if you're in debilitating pain, right? Or something like that. And they're only seeing small amounts of improvement. How do you address that? Like, if somebody came in and they're like, I'm just not seeing improvement or enough improvement, what would you say to them? How would you talk to them? What would that conversation entail? And how would you kind of think through that scenario?
Well, it starts with expectations.
Or maybe that never happens and you're just amazing.
It happens all the time. So it starts with the expectations.
Yeah.
So in your job, if you were going to hire a consulting company and they were like, we can get this done in 3 weeks, in 3 weeks, you're going to expect it done. So I try not to undershoot and make myself.
Sure.
So that is part of the process, because I'm cash-based. Most of my patients, they buy custom packages based on what they're dealing with. So once I know all of this information, I can say, I think spread out over 6 months, this many sessions is going to get you what you want. So it depends on the person. Now, it's very common to get to the end of that and they haven't reached their goals. I never promised them a result. I promised them that I will give you 100% of my effort, and I will think about your case critically, and I won't give you a cookie cutter solution. You are going to get everything that I have. And all I ask in return is an honest effort on your part.
But I think there's that level of honesty up front that you're kind of alluding to too, that this isn't like a quick fix. This isn't a short-term solution. This isn't like the easy button scenario. Like, we all have to work at this together.
Yeah.
And it may take time.
But it depends on if we're not talking about the long-term goal. Like, say your long-term goal is walking at Disney World.
Mhm.
But right now, in the first couple of weeks, we're talking about pain management.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's appropriate. If we're doing something and it's been 3 weeks and it's not any better,
Mhm.
we got to I need to know that. We have to
Sure.
shift. So I'm making an educated guess.
Sure.
And as often as I can, I give the patient options. I think it'd be appropriate to do this, this, or this. Like, if ideally I could give them 3 options. Sometimes I can't. Is there somewhere that one of these looks more exciting and interesting to you? And sometimes, a lot of times, patients will say, well, I want to do the thing that's going to give me the most bang for the buck. They want
Sure.
me to make a
Yeah.
recommendation. And I say, okay, great. But to your earlier point is, if I'm like, we need to do this, and in their head, they're like, I'm not going to comply with that. I need to know. So if they're open to whatever, I'll pick the one. If they want to start, if they're really motivated to start with one thing, we'll start with that one thing.
And deep down, I bet people have an opinion about.
A lot of times they do, or they have an opinion about what they don't want to do.
Sure.
Usually, so don't make me do that. And sometimes it's like, well, I'm not going to go work out in a public gym. I don't want to. I don't want to do that. So, and then I'll say, okay, based on this plan, I would expect that within, let's say, 1 to 3 sessions, so maybe 1 to 3 weeks, you should see some noticeable changes in your symptoms. And if that doesn't happen, we have 3 things could happen. You get better as predicted, which is great. There's no change, which doesn't really mean we're doing the wrong thing. It might be we need to make a small tweak.
Does that happen a lot though?
Yeah, because sometimes it's just volume. It's a volume game. You know what I mean? So it's like the stretching will work. You've been tight for so long. You know, I can't undo 10 years of this within 2 weeks. Maybe we need 4 weeks. I'm making an educated guess. So either you get better as predicted, option 1. Option 2, nothing changes, which usually means we're going in the right direction because we're not making it worse. We need more time. We need more volume. We need to tweak something. So we will make calculated decisions if we're not meeting our timelines. Or the third option is you get worse. Patients hate this. I secretly love it because it is a huge indicator that we need to do a 180 and do something totally different. And so sometimes to get what you want, we have to fail a certain number of times. And so I go over this early on. If we make it worse, it is not a step in the wrong direction. We will learn from that and we will pivot hard. And you have to understand that to get what you want, there might be a magic number of failures. So let's systematically fail quickly until we figure out what's going on. So I have a lot of confidence that if someone sticks with me long enough, we will figure it out. I might not be the healthcare provider at the end of it, but we will learn so much together, and we will have.
That transparency factor too, right?
Yeah, I'm a guide. I'm trying to get you to where you want to go, and I'm willing to change. And I don't have, when I go into a session. So if we work together, when we get done, I'll type up the notes. I'll send you what you're going to be doing. Recently we started using an app, so you're going to get, the app will be updated. I'll probably shoot you a text message or an email with some information. And then this is the plan until I see you again. Then what I do is I sit down and think like, okay, if this goes to plan, in 2 weeks when I see this person again, ideally this is what we'll be working on. And I make out a 70% solution for our next session. Best case scenario. Sometimes I'll have a contingency plan. I'll have questions that I want to ask. While everything's fresh in my mind, I put that down. But I have to be prepared to pivot hard.
Yeah.
We might be working on ankle pain and you wake up and you can't turn your neck. And we have to
address that.
Yeah, we have to. So I understand that, or you got worse. Well, the plan that I made was based on you getting better. So we've got to shift. So I leave a lot of wiggle room to just on the fly make something up, like based on what you're presenting with.
Just some more information maybe that you've shared with me is you ask for feedback from your patients a lot, right? Like you're constantly checking in with them saying, how's this going? How is this? Did you do the exercise? Like you're constantly asking for that feedback loop, and it's a partnership in order to help them achieve their goals. And so I think that's very unique because I've been to a lot of, different healthcare providers and things like that. Very often you go to the doctor and then you leave and maybe they call you after you get your blood results back or something like that. And it's like, that's it, right?
Yeah.
There's not like this sort of partnership that I think is very unique about what you're doing. And it's not to say other people aren't out there doing that too, but I think it's different than what other chiropractors often provide to their patients. I think one thing I wanted to talk about, because you kind of alluded to this and it jogged my memory. What are some things that, and I'm going to be specific. Can you talk about a common myth of resting as a solution? Because I feel like we've talked about that quite a bit just in general, around like you twist an ankle, you need to rest, or you do X, Y, or Z, so you need to take 3 weeks off, or that common myth, because I think that's something I did not know until you educated me about that. It was always like ice and rest, ice and rest, ice and rest, right? And so I don't know, like, has the science changed, or are we just becoming more like what is that, and why do so many people think that they need to rest versus move when they have pain? And why do so many people think that moving is going to make it worse?
People feel like moving is going to make it worse because when they move, it hurts.
Well, it's probably like a psychological response. The body is programmed not to make more pain when they're already in pain, right? There's probably like a
So the sensations that you feel, most people have used icy hot or Bengay. When you put that on, it feels both hot and cold at the same time. No one's under the assumption that there's hot and cold liquid in the tube.
Right.
You don't understand how the chemical reaction works, but you understand that it's a react. Like it's not
real. Like an ice cube.
It's even though it feels hot and cold at the same time, your body is lying to you about that sensation based on a chemical reaction. Well, we have that all the time where things hurt and we think there must be something wrong. And it's a warning system, but it's not always accurate. So from the person's perspective, I understand it. From the be careful the way I word this. I think healthcare providers lack time and resources. I think this is primarily a problem with medical physicians. So if you don't have a lot of time and it's not your expertise, telling someone to rest is a good bet. Because it's not good. They're not going to get hurt.
They're not going to get worse.
Yeah. So I understand where the concept of rest comes from. If you've got 5 minutes with a patient and you're going to see 50 to 100 people that day because you're a busy medical doctor running around, I get it. And I can't really expect them to do any better. And I feel like there are professions that could do better. Chiropractic is one of them. I have a bone to pick with a lot of PTs as well. And I think there's a lot of PTs within the physical therapy profession who would agree, because I've heard them complain about it, telling people to rest. So if you're in a lot of pain and you just had an injury, your pain just started, and you want to take a beat and take a day off, sure, whatever. And rest can mean different things, but beyond that, it might be more of like an active recovery. So it might be rest. If you're an avid CrossFitter and you go 10 out of 10, you redline it every day, 7 days a week, I might have you do an active recovery where you're still going to the gym, but to you it's rest. But we're still doing things. You just can't rest your way back to activity. And the problem is, I will get someone in his 50s, 60s, who's been resting for 30 years because someone 30 years ago told them something about rest, and they've been avoiding something for 30 years. Well, 30 years of not doing something, then you go do it. because you have to do
Will
it.
be painful, probably.
It's gonna hurt for sure. And you're avoiding all of these activities in your life for the last 30 years. Think how much better your life could be. So if you say, well, I want to get better at juggling, but how can I get better at juggling without juggling? That's a silly question. There are things you can do, but ultimately you got to juggle. So if you got low back pain with picking things up, like deadlifting, well, we got to practice that. You don't have to be a power lifter. We might not be having you do 1 rep maxes.
Sure.
But we're going to get you in that uncomfortable position and coach you through it until it's not uncomfortable anymore. And that's the problem. Someone has low back pain with picking something up, we'll go rest. Don't do that. Okay. Beyond a day or two, I want to get you at least lifting something light, maybe a pound.
Versus sitting on the couch.
Yeah, and maybe we'll work through limited ranges of motion, but we'll kind of gradually work you back. And it's the same thing with pretty much every injury, because you start to identify with that pain. I can't do this because I've got this pain. I've got this problem. And then you just limits your life. It's just, it's limiting. It nocebos you and make you think you're more fragile than what you are. It doesn't actively move you back towards just living your life and doing the fun and the important stuff. So rest in so many ways, other than maybe some very specific things, is not advisable for very long. And we have to have some type of gradual return to activity. And it probably needs to incorporate whatever injured you in the first place. So we can't have you freaked out about doing certain things. And even people with joint replacements and surgeries, a surgeon's going to limit certain things for sure, but we want to approximate that limit. So if you got a hip,
not forever.
Yeah, if you've got a hip replacement and they don't want you doing certain things, great. I respect that. But how do we get you doing the things you want to be able to do? Maybe we can't do it. Maybe your range of motion, you're not going to have the mobility and flexibility because the new joint, it's not built for that. Can we make you stronger? What can we do to get you closer, at least back to doing what you want to be able to do? I've never run into a scenario where you can't, other than maybe some type of serious pathology. So if someone's got an active cancer and they're undergoing chemotherapy, something like that, where it's like very extreme. It's like, okay, well, if what you're dealing with is life-threatening, let's keep you alive and not worry about the exercise right now. But even in cases like that, I mean, I don't work with cancer patients, but I think there's research out there to show in a lot of cases that physical activity and exercise and movement and rehab and things like that can be very positive for people, even if not just physical, but maybe psychological, like giving them some autonomy and some agency to take some control, and it makes them feel better. So I just think rest in general is a terrible idea. It's just bad. It just doesn't get you what you want. So if for someone's like, well, I've been resting for a long period of time, then we got to find a way to not rest.
I think a lot of people also think in terms of like black and white, right? So they think rest sitting on the couch. At least, like, I think I have this perception. Maybe that's relatable to some people. But rest is laying on the couch watching TV or reading a book. Yeah. Literally doing nothing physical. And then activity is like you were saying, hitting your 1 rep max at CrossFit, right? Or something like that. There's a lot of stuff in between those extremes. And I think a lot of people think they have to do one or the other, and those are their only options, right? And there's so many things in between. And I've even had to kind of like change my perspective on this because I was an athlete in high school and, worked out in college, and then kind of just ran and did random stuff in my 20s. And so for me, like being in shape meant being like an athlete and like being in the gym. There was no kind of just like consistently going on a walk every day. That wasn't part of my routine. That wasn't part of my program, especially as like a teenager in my 20s. There was no like do 5 squats 3 or 4 times a day, right? It was like do 100 squats, but that's a whole undertaking for a lot of people. That's not possible even for a lot of people, or they're going to be very, very sore. So I think we tend to think, I think the average person tends to think in extremes, but just doing small tweaks and small changes and small amounts of activity. I mean, it totally depends on the person, but you don't have to bite off more than you can chew up front. You know what I mean? And there's little incremental changes and little bite size. What do you call them? Snacks or something? Activity snacks? Or
you can call them movement snacks.
Movement snacks.
I think people like the term microdosing.
Yeah, it's like a whole thing. But I think there's a little bit of that gray area between that most people don't even consider as part of their daily routine that could lead them on a trajectory of doing bigger things and then more things and more, like it's not this like 0 to 100 situation, you know?
Injuries and pain, they present an opportunity. And I think right now I'm just talking about, or I've been talking about, well, how do we address the injury? How do we get you moving that body part? But what about all the other body parts?
Well, so that's sort of,
it's a really cool opportunity. So I don't know. There's a physical therapist. I can't remember his name. Anyway, he's on a lot of podcasts and stuff, and he does a lot of ACL rehab. And he was talking about, for his ACL patients, Monday is bench press day. They don't do knee stuff because
they do something different,
something totally different. Because why not? Because in the year, the 9 months to 12 months that they're going to go through ACL rehab, why not get a better bench press? Why not get better at pull-ups? Why not work on something totally different? Because those body parts are fine. So it's actually a unique, because maybe you spend so much time, you're a runner, and now you can't run. Well, what else would you like to be able to do? Because we've got all this time and all this energy, and you want to be active. Can we do something different that would be interesting to you?
I think it's hard for people, though, to switch their mindset. You know, if they've always identified as...
It's actually shockingly easy when you present the opportunity. People just don't think about it. So if you've got, let's say you're a runner, and you've got this bad ankle sprain. Well, what else would you like to be able to do? You tell me. We'll start working on that as we work on the ankle stuff. But let's get better at something else. Let's have some fun with that. Let's look for other holes in your game. Let's find some other enjoyment with physical activity. Why would we not do that? It's a huge opportunity. It's an opportunity and another thing, because we wonder, well, why did you get hurt? When I had Joe, the last episode with Joe Phillip was Marissa's brother, for people who don't know. He brought up something about, I think he was saying like, oh, we've got like a pro baseball pitcher who's never had a shoulder problem. How is he able to throw for all these years and not injure his shoulder, where someone else in high school destroys their shoulder? It's an interesting question. And we talked about the idea of pain being a request for change. And it's not an idea that I came up with. So
I love that.
Yeah. So let's say you've got...
Well, it makes it not negative.
Yeah. So you've got...
That's a double negative, but it makes it less of like this detrimental, terrible situation and more of like a positive.
So you're a runner. You love to run. You've got knee pain. You can't run. You've been grinding on it, and it's getting bad. So okay, let's work on that. We can come up with a pathoanatomical diagnosis. And what are we going to do for the knee? Okay, great. It's going to take a while. I think it's going to take you 6 to 12 months before you're back doing what you want to do. Okay, what do we do in that 6 to 12 months? Well, would you like to be able to learn to do? Maybe you want to learn to do a pull-up, or you want to get better at bench press because you think it'll be cool. Whatever. Okay, we'll work on that. So we're working on the knee. We're working on other things because you got all this energy now and this time. Let's have some fun. But also, what's the request for change? Why do you think that happened? We've got to figure that. We want to figure that out. Maybe you're burning the candle at both ends. Maybe your diet is suboptimal. And if your diet's suboptimal, why? Is it because you don't want to gain a ton of weight? Is it a psychological thing? Do we need to have you talk to a counselor? Is it something like you're under eating? Like you're training really hard, but you're not feeling your body? Do you have misconceptions about, are you, anti whatever whatever the food trend is this month, you're anti-seed oil or anti-whatever. Are you restricting your diet so much because you're freaked out about things that you see on Instagram? Okay, maybe we should look at that. Are you not sleeping well? What's going on with your sleep? So we start to think about what are all the things that your body is saying you should change. Well, what a plan we have now. We're rehabbing a knee. You're getting better at and you're having fun in the gym, doing something new, learning something new, developing a weakness, and you're working on a request for change, what your body's telling you. That's all part of your program. The alternative is I just crack your back and your knee, and then you know what I mean? Like
Right.
when we talk about these things and I explain what treatment could be, the thought of just going back to traditional healthcare where we just say, oh, I'll give you a pill or go rest or come in and I'll crack your back.
Right.
Because it fixes everything. Because the nerves of the low back run down to the knee. It sounds ridiculous to say that out loud. And that's where I am as a healthcare provider. I think, yeah, it's ridiculous. I'm glad that we have joint manipulation. I'm glad that people can go get their back cracked. I just don't think it's that valuable. I'm glad that we have medication. I've taken medication. All this negative stuff about opioids, I get it, but I'm really glad they exist because I've used them before.
In certain situations.
Yes. So, there are so many different tools out there at our disposal, but they're just tools. And so I want to just think about like, well, what could this plan be for you? You could come out, you're in pain right now. You can't do what you want to do and it sucks. I get it. But on the back end of this, you could be stronger overall. You can be back to doing what you want to do, and you could be a healthier person. You can have all of that in 6 to 12 months if we work. That's what I'm offering you. The alternative is just rest, take some anti-inflammatories, throw some ice on it, and then go get adjusted. I don't even know how I could sell that with a straight face anymore. It would be so hard for me to take anyone's money or time providing. I might as well just be rubbing their forehead with a crystal and then giving I think a firm handshake and a loving hug would probably be just as good as the alternative. So I think there's so much that you can do other than rest. And that pain and injury offers so many opportunities to be healthier, stronger, and actually better at whatever it is that you want to be able to do because your body's saying we need to focus.
I have one more question.
Okay. How are we doing on time?
We probably should be.
Okay. Because we got little kids that we pawned off on grandparents so that we could record this episode together. Parent life.
Why is consistency so hard for so many people? Because I'm a person that struggles with that, right? And so I'm genuinely curious. This is the new year, 2026.
Yeah.
I think everyone, well, I shouldn't say everyone, a lot of people like to set New Year's resolutions. You're going to roll your eyes.
No, it's fine. I like New Year's resolutions.
No, but listen. So everyone who's setting a New Year's resolution, right, whether that's eating healthier or going to the gym more or meditating or standing up at their desk because they got a new standing desk or
coffee enemas.
Fill in the whatever you choose.
There's all kinds of stuff out there that I'm sure people got as Christmas gifts.
10,000 steps a day, right? Like the list goes on. So why is it so hard for people as we turn the leaf into the new year here? Many folks are 3-4 days into their New Year's resolution. By the time this gets posted, maybe some have even fallen off the bandwagon of keeping their New Year's resolution. Like, why is that so hard for people? And how do you help people stay consistent? What does that look like? Like, how do you address that? And I'm sure people have come and asked, like, I genuinely want to know, but I'm sure people like, how can I stay more consistent?
There are layers to this. The top layer is that your plan could never work anyway.
It's too lofty, or
it's like, man, I want to change the oil in my car. So I'm going to go step on my toe. Like what? Like it doesn't.
It's
There's
not
nothing.
connected.
Yeah, there's nothing. But in your mind, for whatever reason, that worked. And I think a more realistic thing is that I used to run into with personal training back in the day is that someone would be like, "Oh, I want a personal trainer because I'm trying to run a marathon."
Sure.
Oh, cool.
Well, literally, I did that.
Yeah. So, and I will. Well, what's your motivation to run a marathon?
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to get healthy.
Right.
And so from my perspective, a marathon is a very unhealthy thing to do. And the pursuit of doing it
Noted.
is incredibly unhealthy. So if your goal is health, it's not like that doesn't match up. But in their mind, I can see where it would, because you're going to change your diet. And you're going to exercise.
Before we knew each other, by the way.
You're going to diet and exercise and everything like that. So I think that a lot of people, they fall off the plan because the plan is garbage and it was never going to work anyway. And they're just starting to realize, oh, this is not going to work. And other people fall off is because their plan is really good and it's just hard work for a long period of time. A good example is, I think is funny, is the Perfect Push-Up, that product your dad has. They're like, I don't know if you have,
like twists.
Yeah, Google. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google the Perfect Push-Up. I would imagine it's just hard. It's a hard.
It is very hard.
If you can't do real, like regular push-ups,
yeah, there's no way.
You don't buy that product. That is, but I just imagine when that became popular, tens of thousands of people buying it with the intent they were going to get good at push-ups, and they put it down and they're like, oh, this is just a harder version of a regular push-up that I can do for free. And then those things never get used. It's an incredible product, but it's hard.
You have to have the fundamentals done first.
So sometimes people don't succeed because their plan is garbage and it was never going to work anyway. Sometimes people don't succeed because their plan would work. It's just really hard.
And they can't stick with it.
They can't stick with it.
Well, and I think they get discouraged because they can't do those things.
Now let's go right down the middle. Yeah. Maybe you've got a great plan that's actually doable, that will get you to the end result if you stick with it long enough. A lot of those people are not going to go the distance because they don't understand their motivation. If it's like, well, I want to lose weight.
Like the deeper reason.
Why do you want to lose weight? Oh, I want to be healthy, whatever. No, there's a different reason. Yeah. And that deeper reason might be, I was bullied in high school and I have I have these issues. Well, that's a reason. That's a good reason. And we got to think about that. And we got to kind of sit and be uncomfortable for a little bit, because this is your motivation. When you don't want to eat the apple, you want to eat the cookie. I would want you to just pause and think about that version of you in high school that was crying. You know? And then take 10 seconds. You're probably not going to eat that. 9 times out of 10, you will not eat that cookie.
Yeah.
But we have to know that, because you can't have inhuman self-control. There has to be some type of deeper motivation for you to make these long-term changes. And so I've shared this numerous times on the podcast that my motivation is just to be able to like see our kids as parents and to know our grandkids, because the men on my side of the family die early and we started having kids. I started having kids late. So when I don't want to do something and I think about wondering what our 3-year-old daughter is going to look like as a mother, it's not hard to make the right decision. It becomes quite simple. I still want the other thing, but so I think most of the time people who have trouble sticking to these things, they'll look at people like me and be like, oh, he's just got inhuman willpower. And it's like, nope. No, I just have a reason.
Or more self-control.
Yeah,
or something.
I've got a good reason, and I understand, and I make mistakes here and there, but ultimately I'm working on the path, and it's of value to me. So if you don't have the motivation and a real reason why, you are going to fail unless you're like that guy from that rock climbing movie, that thing where he climbed Half Dome.
Oh yeah.
Where he has actual like brain defect where he doesn't feel pain or whatever, you know what I mean?
He's not scared or something.
Yeah, there was something different about his brain, the way it formed. So that person does not need. It's an outlier.
Yeah,
there are a lot of outliers out there.
Sure,
they become presidents of the United States, or they become
Olympian athletes.
Yeah, or they're part of SEAL Team 6.
Sure,
but even those people
are humans.
There is a reason why.
They're still human.
They don't, if you look at like the most elite people in the military, they're not robots. They have a reason. If you look at presidents, sociopaths, probably, narcissists, definitely, but there is they have reasons. They didn't just get there because there's a lot of narcissists and sociopaths that don't become president. There's something about people who rise to those types of positions and they have a deeper motivation. So I think if you can't stick to a New Year's resolution, the secret sauce to success for anything is a coach and a plan. So I would say go get a coach. If you haven't done it on your own and you fail consistently, Michael Phelps had a coach.
Right. He wasn't
you know what I mean? Like the most elite athletes for individual sports have coaches that cannot compete at the sport at the level of that athlete. They still value the coaching. So a good coach and a good plan will take you a long way. You're still going to fail though without motivation. And that motivation has to be something deep, almost something that probably makes you cry when you think about it. Like that's how deep I'd want you to go. And when you're explaining it to me, like I want to be crying as the person who's helping you. Like I want to feel that because I can bring you back at any point where you're like, I don't want to do this. This is hard. And it's like, you got to think about those grandkids. You got to think about your daughter being a mother. You got to think about that little 12-year-old girl crying herself to sleep because someone called her a name based on her body weight. You know what I mean? Like we got to go back to these uncomfortable, because that's some motivation right there. And it's not about reliving trauma or doing it. It's just thinking about like, be honest with yourself. Why do you want this? And if you don't really want it, if there's no motivation, don't beat yourself up for it.
Sure.
Release yourself from that burden and just be like, I don't want it bad enough to go through the steps it's going to take to get it. Wow, well, get that monkey off your back. That's got to be so freeing. Like, stop beating yourself up thinking, I'm worthless, I can't do this, I'm weak, and just be honest that it's not that important to you.
Yeah.
And then move on with your life and find something that makes you happy. I think a lot of people, they realize that. They really get into something and they go, oh, I didn't want it this bad. Well, that's an important thing to figure out. And then you can go live your life and be happy and doing something else.
Back to the marathon concept. I felt like that was very true. I did it, right? But as soon as I was done running the marathon, I was like, well, check that box and moving on. Like my inherent motivation for doing it was not deep enough to do another one or to continue running, really, to be honest. Like I was kind of done.
But sometimes you have to do it though to realize because otherwise you live with regret.
You'll wonder. Yeah,
I would much rather someone go hard and have the regret of doing something they shouldn't have than the regret of.
Wondering. That's true.
And that's the same thing when people are like, "Oh, is this activity? Is it safe? Am I going to get hurt?" And it's like that. Going to the gym, walking, playing a sport, doing all the things. There are inherent risks. You know what's riskier? Doing nothing.
Right.
So I would say that the idea of resting, being physically inactive, letting pain control your life, man, there's a lot, by letting pain and injury dictate your life and having you live a life that is below your full potential is going to drain you. You're going to have regrets and you're decreasing physical activity. So you're increasing your risk for heart disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's, dementia. You're affecting your immune system. You're decreasing your energy levels. You're messing with your sleep. You're messing with your mood. You're doing all of these negative things. Now, if you flip it and you have some agency and you get a coach and a plan and you find some motivation, you start moving in a positive direction. Well, guess what happens? The opposite happens. So you decrease your risk for all these scary things. You improve the quality of life. Your life just gets better. And none of this happens from sitting on your butt and resting and getting your back cracked and taking a pill. Not that those things can't be part of the plan, but they should be smaller parts. They might need to be consistent parts. I don't know. Maybe you do need to take I take medication regularly for things that haven't been able to affect with lifestyle changes. There's something wrong with that. It's a big thing now. People are really anti-Ozempic, these GLP-1s. And it's like, for a lot of people, they haven't been, could they lose the weight through diet and exercise? Probably, but they haven't been successful. And it's not that they haven't tried. And so with a simple medication, and some lifestyle changes on top of that, they can actually achieve what they want.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. There are obviously inappropriate uses of it, but so I don't think that you have to live a life without medication. I don't think you have to live a life without chiropractic adjustments. I don't think you have to live a life without massages or rubbing crystals on your forehead or whatever you want to do. You know, if you're really tied to those things, great. But let's be realistic. And for a lot of people, they're just not going to get you what you want. They can be part of the plan, and if you like them and value them, let's keep them.
Mm-hmm.
As long as it's safe. But you got to realize that there is more out there, and especially for people who are like, I've been failing consistently. Back to your point, how do I succeed? Well, we got to figure out why. Why do you want, like, what is it that you want and what is it you want out of it? Like, tell me what and why. Like, let's just keep talking about it. Let's go as deep as we can. Because once we know that,
Mm-hmm.
either one of us can tap into it. I can press that button as a coach whenever I want to.
Yeah.
And bring you back. I can press it with a text message.
Right.
You know, and you can do it on your own.
Yeah.
And when we can start to make those changes. And I think that's, I guess, a roundabout way of answering your question of like why people fail.
Mm-hmm.
But also maybe the plan just isn't that important. You know, it's like, oh, I want to get healthier. And it's like, it's not really that important to you, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But don't beat yourself up for failing for something that you don't really care about either.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's probably another layer to it that people just, they're not really into it anyway. So of course you're going to fail.
So maybe people have a plan, right? Maybe the plan's not the right plan, but they have a plan as a New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
They don't have a coach, which is the accountability factor too.
It can be.
Right.
Yeah.
And they need to dig deeper about the why.
Yeah. And maybe all of those things line up, but the why just isn't strong enough. They just don't want it that much, which is fine too. And then it's like, okay, well, what do you want to do? Let's just shift our focus.
Right.
And then let's succeed somewhere else.
Right. Right.
Time and energy can be spent somewhere else.
Right. It's back to the pivot concept that you were talking about earlier. So good.
Any other questions?
No.
All right.
That was good. Now we need to go and figure out my why and then figure out the coach situation. And
I don't really like working with family members. I probably shouldn't know you should probably discuss your why with someone else and then let me know on the back end. I think working, at least you and I, we're not compatible in that way. I can't tell you what to do or help you suggest that you should make different changes. If you hear from someone else.
It's true, but I don't think that's unique to
No, I'm
us.
the same way.
I think that's very common.
Yeah. Plus, I don't know. My judgment would be clouded. You know what I mean? Because I know too much. Like,
know too much.
I'm very biased.
True.
So I would want. I don't think I could be truly empathetic and unbiased with you.
Yeah. I think that there is an element, though, of having somebody outside of your inner circle, you know, like immediate family and stuff like that, telling you truth bombs, right? It's like if somebody from the outside looking in says something to you versus somebody who is in part of like your core friend group or, you know, your spouse or even your kids, right? Like maybe your kids are adults and they're dropping truth bombs to mom and dad or grandma and grandpa. It's different when it comes from somebody outside of your inner circle.
Well, I'm a source of your stress. So I can't sit here and then be like,
you're a source of my stress, but you're also a reliever of my stress oftentimes.
Yeah, but I can't, and if we're working together, I can't be like, well, maybe you should be nicer to your husband.
Wow.
What if if you're just in a mood and you're not communicating well with me and I'm reacting with frustration
true.
And that's causing you stress. Someone outside of the situation could be like, well, maybe you're the problem. And then you might be able to see it and go, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's
I am
true.
like,
how often does that happen? No, I'm glad we did this. This was interesting. I learned some things. I am excited about potentially being on your 100th episode. And
we'll see how this performs. And then if it does well, I might invite you back.
with that, good day.